They say every old house holds memories. Some good, some painful, and some that refuse to stay buried. This is the story of a family who moved into a beautiful old home without knowing that a portrait hanging in the hallway would change their lives forever. If you're watching this at night, you might want to turn on the lights. When the Carter family moved to Willow Creek, they thought they had finally found their dream home. It was a two-story house built in the late 1800s, sitting at the end of a quiet street, surrounded by maple trees and a cracked stone fence. Michael and Sarah Carter had been searching for months to escape the noise of the city and raise their daughter Lily somewhere quiet and safe. The house had character, charm, and space they could never afford anywhere else. Sarah loved the vintage architecture. Michael loved the spacious backyard. Lily loved the winding staircase that she could run up and down. But none of them noticed, at least not at first, the portrait hanging in the main hallway. They had assumed it came with the home, one of those old heirloom pieces previous owners sometimes leave behind. It was a large ornate frame oak vines carved around the edges. Inside the frame was a portrait of a young woman wearing a dark old-fashioned dress. Her hair was long braided over one shoulder. Her face was pale calm, almost emotionless, except for the eyes. The eyes, they seemed almost too real. Lily was the first to say something. "Mom, she's staring at me." Sarah laughed it off. "It's just painted that way. Don't think about it." But Lily didn't like walking past it. She would hold her breath every time. Michael suggested taking it down, but Sarah hesitated. "It's original to the house," she said. "It's probably worth a fortune." So the portrait stayed, and on the very first night the house welcomed them. With silence, with cold, uncomfortable quiet. A heaviness in the air that none of them could explain. But the portrait remained where it had always been, watching over them as they slept. Not exactly. It was the feeling that came first. Whenever someone walked past the portrait, they felt noticed. Like something behind the canvas was aware. Like the eyes inside the paint were tracking their movements, following them from one end of the hallway to the other. Sarah started avoiding turning her back to it. Michael started walking faster past it. Lily refused to walk upstairs alone. But still no one said anything. Not yet. One afternoon Sarah stood in front of the portrait, studying it more closely. The woman in the painting looked around 20 years old young, but with sadness behind her eyes, like she had lived too many difficult lives in just one lifetime. But more than the sadness, there was a hint of something else. Loneliness. The more Sarah looked, the more her chest tightened with a feeling she couldn't explain. Michael walked up behind her. "It's creepy," he admitted, finally saying what they all felt. Sarah nodded, but strangely beautiful. It was the first time the house felt wrong. Michael tried to change the subject. "Well, take it down tomorrow." But tomorrow would be too late. That night was the first time something changed. The Carters were asleep when it happened. Around 2:47 a.m., the house creaked, not like old wood expanding, not like the wind outside, but footsteps, slow, measured, deliberate, crossing the hallway. Michael woke first. He thought someone had broken in. He grabbed a flashlight and stepped into the hallway. No one was there. But something was different. He stopped in front of the portrait and froze. The woman in the painting was not looking straight ahead anymore. Her head had shifted ever so slightly, tilted to the left, as if following him. Michael stepped backward, breath shaking, heart hammering. He stared. He blinked. But it didn't change back. He didn't wake Sarah. He didn't want to sound insane. But the next morning, Sarah screamed. The woman's head in the portrait was now facing the staircase, as if watching whoever walked down, as if waiting. And Lily refused to leave her room. She whispered, "Mom, she was in my dream. She was standing by the door. She told me not to leave her alone." Things got worse, much worse. Objects shifted places, doors opened on their own. Cold spots appeared in random corners of the house, but the portrait The portrait changed every night. Sometimes the expression changed. Sometimes the head turned. Sometimes the shoulders shifted slightly. But the eyes were always the same. One day Sarah noticed something else. The woman in the portrait had tears running down her cheeks. Real tears, wet, dripping, staining the painting. Sarah screamed and dropped the cloth she was holding. Michael rushed over, but now the tears were gone. The painting looked dry. Lily began talking in her sleep, whispering soft, broken sentences. She's sad, she's lonely, she lost her baby. Sarah and Michael exchanged a horrified look. Who told you that? Sarah asked. Lily pointed at the hallway. Sarah couldn't take it anymore. She went to the local library searching for historical records of the house. Finally, she found something. A newspaper article from 1893. A young woman named Eliza Harrow had lived in the home. She had been engaged to marry a wealthy banker, but a tragedy occurred before the wedding. Eliza had given birth to a child. The child died at only 3 months old. Eliza never recovered. They said she stopped speaking, stopped eating. She spent her days sitting in the hallway, staring at the staircase, waiting for a child who would never return. One winter night she disappeared. Her body was never found. The last thing recorded about her was chilling. She believed her child's spirit was still crawling up the staircase to her. Sarah dropped the article. Her hands shook. Her chest tightened. The portrait wasn't decorative. It wasn't art. It was a grave marker, a memorial, a doorway. That night, Sarah insisted they sleep in the same room. Just in case. But sleep didn't come. At exactly 3:12 a.m., Lily woke up screaming. It's her. She's in the hallway. Michael grabbed a flashlight and flung the door open. What he saw, the portrait's face had changed again. But this time the woman was smiling. A slow, stretched, unnatural smile. Her teeth visible. Her lips curled upward. Her eyes wide, too wide. The kind of smile that doesn't express joy. The kind that expresses hunger. Michael grabbed a hammer. He was done. He raised it and swung hard, striking the portrait dead center. The wood cracked. The canvas split. But from inside the painting, a sound escaped. A sob. A real human sob. The house went silent. Lily collapsed, gasping for breath, as if something was being torn away from her chest. Sarah screamed and held her. Michael stepped back, dropping the hammer, his hands trembling violently. The portrait didn't fall. The canvas didn't tear further. The woman inside the frame now looked directly at them. As if awakened, as if aware, as if free. The Carters moved out that night. They didn't pack. They didn't turn off the lights. They didn't shut the doors. They simply ran. The house was listed for sale 2 months later. The real estate listing photos showed the hallway. And in every single photo, the portrait was still there. Still hanging, still watching. Except now the woman in the portrait wasn't alone. Standing beside her was a small child, holding her hand, and both of them were smiling. Some things from the past never rest. Some grief never heals. And some souls never stop waiting. If you ever move into a house with a portrait left behind, don't assume it's just decoration. Sometimes it's an invitation